Sometimes love doesn't destroy us with fire. Sometimes it kills us quietly with silence and rejection. This is the story of Gao Tu and Shen Wenlang, two men bound by biology, lies, and impossible desire in an Abo world where love is anything but simple. At first, Gao Tu didn't want much. All he wished for was to stand beside Shen Wenlang as himself. No lies, no masks, no pretense. To be treated equally, to be acknowledged sincerely, whether as a colleague or as a friend. That would have been enough. But when Shen Wenlang unknowingly pulled him out of the shadows, when he forced him to face his true self, something inside Gao Tu began to change. He became greedy. Greedy for more than he should have dared to hope for. He began to crave Shen Wenlang's acceptance, his closeness, his affection. He even fantasized, against all reason, that maybe one day Shen Wenlang would be able to love him back. And that greed terrified him. In his own mind, Shen Wenlang had transformed him from a liar into a thief. A thief who had stolen opportunities, a thief who had stolen intimacy, a thief who was now paying the price for daring to want too much. Then everything collapsed in an instant. Gao Tu found out he was pregnant. The words hit him like thunder. His mind went blank, his breath caught, and the world seemed to blur around him. And then came the verdict from the pheromone specialist: terminated. Immediately. It wasn't cruelty, it was science. Gao Tu's body wasn't like other omegas. He suffered from pheromone disorders that made pregnancy not just difficult, but dangerous. Without the stabilizing pheromones of his partner, there was little chance of carrying a child to term safely. The doctor's voice was firm, almost merciless in its honesty. "You can't do this alone. For your own safety, give up the child." But Gao Tu couldn't. Not this time. This child wasn't just a cluster of cells. It was Shen Wenlang's child. A piece of the man he loved, the man he could never truly have. And so, in the quietest, most desperate voice, he whispered his truth. "I want this child." Even saying it aloud filled him with shame, but also with determination. He begged for alternatives. Couldn't he use artificial pheromones? Couldn't he borrow the pheromones of other alphas with higher compatibility? Couldn't modern medicine find a way? The doctor shook his head. Artificial pheromones were too weak. The pheromones of strangers carried moral and medical risks. His body, already fragile, was reacting violently. Nausea, insomnia, exhaustion. It was a battle he could not win. But Gao Tu refused to let go. He told himself there had to be a way. And then came the most dangerous idea of all. If substitutes would not work, then perhaps the only answer was the real thing. Shen Wenlang's pheromones. It was naive. It was foolish. But Gao Tu clung to the idea like a drowning man to driftwood. He went so far as to draft legal documents. He commissioned lawyers to prepare agreements where he waived all rights, property, inheritance, even parental ties. He would erase himself completely from Shen Wenlang's life if only he could keep the child. All he wanted was to give birth. Not to bind Shen Wenlang, not to ask for his love, not to ask for a future. Just this one child. With trembling hands and weeks of preparation, he finally gathered the courage to face Shen Wenlang. He revealed his condition, his pregnancy, his plan. He exposed his heart and begged for just one thing: the pheromones of the child's father. But Shen Wenlang's answer was colder than death. Abort it. 2 words. Final. Brutal. Unyielding. In that moment, Gao Tu felt his world fall apart completely. The last fragile hope he had been clinging to shattered beyond repair. No pheromones, no alpha, no miracle could save this child now. And Gao Tu knew, deep down, that Shen Wenlang would never stand by his side. The despair was so consuming that he couldn't even ask again. He couldn't argue, couldn't plead. He couldn't even say another word. He walked out of the clinic in silence, his body frail, his heart numb. Standing outside, his eyes locked on a meaningless stain on the ground, staring until his vision blurred. It was as if staring at that spot would make reality disappear, would erase the cruel words echoing in his mind. But reality didn't vanish. The truth stood tall and merciless. He was alone. Completely, devastatingly alone. And yet, even in that silence, even in that hopelessness, a small ember refused to die. A fragile, desperate thought whispered inside him. Maybe somehow there was still a way. Maybe there was still something worth fighting for. This is Gao Tu's tragedy. A man who only wanted to exist honestly, who only wanted to be acknowledged, but who fell into love, greed, and despair. A man who wanted nothing more than to keep a child that symbolized everything he longed for, but who faced a reality that tore him apart piece by piece. In trying to save his child, Gao Tu ended up losing everything. His dignity, his hope, and the possibility of love. But was he a fool for clinging to the impossible? Or was he the bravest of all, daring to want love and family even when the world told him he could never have it? But reality didn't vanish. The truth stood tall and merciless. He was alone. Completely, devastatingly alone. And yet, even in that silence, even in that hopelessness, a small ember refused to die. A fragile, desperate thought whispered inside him. Maybe somehow there was still a way. Maybe there was still something worth fighting for. The nights that followed were the hardest. Gao Tu would lie awake, staring at the ceiling, his body aching from exhaustion, his stomach twisted by morning sickness that never seemed to end. Every breath felt heavier than the last, yet his hand always drifted to his abdomen, resting there with trembling fingers. He whispered silently into the darkness, as though the tiny life inside him could hear. Please hold on. Please stay. It was a plea not only to the child but to himself. A vow that even if the world abandoned him, even if Shen Wenlang wanted nothing to do with him, he would still find the strength to continue. For this child, he would endure. For this child, he would try to survive. This is Gao Tu's tragedy. A man who only wanted to exist honestly, who only wanted to be acknowledged, but who fell into love, greed, and despair. A man who wanted nothing more than to keep a child that symbolized everything he longed for, but who faced a reality that tore him apart piece by piece. In trying to save his child, Gao Tu ended up losing everything. His dignity, his hope, and the possibility of love. This is the question his story leaves us with. Was Gao Tu a fool for chasing a dream that was never his to begin with? Or was he the bravest of all, daring to hope, even when hope itself was forbidden? If this story moved you, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Shen Wenlang was too cruel, or was Gao Tu's determination simply too much? I'd love to hear how you see their tragedy. And if you want more heartbreaking, messy, and unforgettable BL stories like this one, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss the next deep dive. Because love in these worlds is never simple. And the next story might just break your heart even more.